1. Patience Smith might have been surprised to know that her life had just changed dramatically. Sheriff J. Longer didn't realize his had changed at the same instant. Swinging a long leg over the saddle, the sheriff of Denver City, Colorado, climbed aboard his mare. His eye caught Dylan McCall hugging his wife on Main Street, right in broad daylight, and in front of the sheriff's office, too. He frowned. Was that any way to uphold the dignity of law enforcement? A moment later, Jay rode up to the waiting couple, sliding out of the saddle before the mare came to a stop. Ruth McCall whirled to face him, her pretty face a mix of warring emotions. "We were in the shop. Mary was pinning the hem on Lenore Hawthorne's wedding dress. The bride's parents forbid her to try it on, so Patience was modeling it. A man burst into Mary's millinery and grabbed Patience. They went off in that direction." She pointed west. "Go!"
"Honey, slow down," her husband warned. "I don't want you upset."
Tears brimmed Ruth's eyelids. "You have to do something, Sheriff." Jay frowned. Deliver him from newlyweds and estrogen-produced hysterics. All that sweet talk between the marshal and his bride should take place in the privacy of their home, not in the presence of people who might find it scratchy to watch. Of course, time was when he still had Nellie. He might have been as love-struck as Dylan, but he'd have had enough sense of propriety to keep it to himself.
Sure he would. If he had Nellie back, he'd get down on his knees right out there in the middle of the street and tell her all the things he wished he'd said when he had the chance. Jay casually straightened the brim of his Stetson. "She was wearing Lenore Hawthorne's wedding dress when she was abducted?"
Ruth nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. "She was standing in for Lenore for the final gown fitting." Jay glanced at Dylan, then back to Ruth.
"Well, there's our answer. There's been bad blood between the Hawthornes and the McLeans for years. Ben and Lenore's wedding has set them off again. My guess is that the culprit has a connection with the groom's family."
With the Hawthorne-McLean wedding scheduled to take place tomorrow night, Jay figured that had to be the circumstance. Old man McLean was a crusty old reprobate, and he'd sworn to stop the nuptials between his oldest son and Hawthorne's youngest daughter. Apparently, he'd found a way to interfere. Ruth lifted a shaky hand to her forehead. "Sakes alive! The kidnapper mistook Patience for Lenore?"
Jay nodded. "That'd be my guess. What about you, Marshal?"
Dylan agreed.
"That's the way I have it figured."
Denver City bustled in the background. An hour from now it would be dark, and a posse would find it impossible to track the young woman. Jay would have to set out alone and follow the trail until it got cold, or until he found Patience Smith. "But why?" Ruth argued. "Why would anyone snatch a bride? What do they want with Lenore? Patience?" The sheriff and the marshal exchanged sobering looks before Jay finally admitted,
"Well, now, that's hard to say.
Could be a million explanations, but only one thing mattered. What would the kidnapper do with the girl once he discovered his mistake?
"Let's not panic,"
Dylan said.
"When Patience tells the man he's got the wrong woman, he'll probably turn her loose."
Whirling, Ruth bolted back into Mary's millinery shop in tears, and Dylan approached the sheriff.
"We've got a problem,"
the marshal said.
"Could be. Then again, he might have realized his mistake instantly and let her go at the edge of town. Maybe. But if he didn't..."
Jay took off his Stetson and wiped his forehead.
"Then you're right. We have a real problem."
Dylan stood by while Jay slid a Winchester Model 1873 into the hand-tooled rifle scabbard tied to his saddle. A cold wind buffeted the men's sturdy frames. Tomorrow night, 1873 would be ushered out with parties and noisy celebrations, but Jay wouldn't be part of the festivities. Dylan ran a hand across his face.
"I still think I should be the one to go after her. Those girls and Ruth, they're like family to each other.